Nathan Cole had always been a man of quiet determination. Growing up in the suburbs of Detroit, he spent most of his childhood taking apart old radios and rebuilding them just to see if they could work better. By the time he was an adult, Nathan had turned that curiosity into a career as an engineer. But no one, not even Nathan himself, could have predicted the day he would represent Earth on an interstellar stage. It all started with a message. One evening, while Nathan was tinkering with a new design for a spacecraft engine in his garage, his phone buzzed. It was an official email from the United Nations Space Agency. They wanted him to join a delegation heading to the Galactic Council, a gathering of advanced alien civilizations. The invitation came after years of Nathan's unconventional ideas catching attention. Ideas like powering ships using quantum entanglement, something no one else had dared to try. For Nathan, it felt surreal, like stepping into a science fiction novel. When Nathan arrived at the orbital station where the conference was being held, he couldn't help but feel out of place. The station was enormous, filled with towering structures and glowing corridors that seemed alive with energy. Alien delegates moved about, their forms ranging from insect-like creatures with shimmering exoskeletons to floating beings made of light. Compared to them, Nathan felt small and ordinary, dressed in a simple suit borrowed from a friend. The aliens didn't hide their skepticism. As Nathan walked through the halls, he overheard snippets of conversations. A tall, insectoid creature named Zixer laughed openly about humanity's primitive attempts at space travel. Another delegate, Lyra, who looked like she was made of liquid silver, shook her head when someone mentioned Nathan's designs. "It's cute," she said dismissively, "but completely impractical." Even the humans on the delegation seemed unsure, whispering among themselves about whether Nathan was the right choice to represent Earth. But Nathan wasn't there to win a popularity contest. He carried with him a set of blueprints for a starship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. His design relied on principles most scientists considered theoretical at best. Instead of traditional fuel, the ship would harness the power of quantum entanglement, creating a self-sustaining energy loop. It was risky, untested, and wildly ambitious, but Nathan believed in it with every fiber of his being. Back in his assigned quarters, Nathan unpacked his tools and began assembling a small-scale model of his prototype. He had smuggled parts from Earth, determined to show the aliens what humanity was capable of. As he worked late into the night, the hum of the station's systems surrounding him, Nathan thought about the weight of the task ahead. This wasn't just about proving himself. It was about proving humanity's worth. If he failed, Earth might never get another chance to join the Galactic Council. Despite the pressure, Nathan stayed focused. He knew the aliens would laugh at first. He expected it, but laughter wouldn't stop him. Every twist of a screwdriver, every connection made between wires, brought him closer to something extraordinary. Humanity's future depended on it, and Nathan Cole wasn't about to let anyone down. Not Earth, not himself, and certainly not the skeptics who thought humans couldn't reach the stars. As the hours passed, Nathan's hands moved with precision, building not just a machine but a dream. Somewhere deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. The next morning, Nathan woke up early, his mind buzzing with thoughts of the day ahead. He grabbed a quick breakfast from the station's dining area, where alien chefs prepared meals that ranged from strange to downright bizarre. Nathan stuck to something simple, a bowl of what looked like oatmeal, though it had a faintly metallic taste. As he ate, he noticed a few aliens glancing his way. Some whispered behind their hands, or whatever passed for hands, while others openly stared. It was clear they didn't think much of him. After breakfast, Nathan headed to the main conference hall. The room was massive, with curved walls covered in glowing symbols that shifted and changed as different languages were translated. Delegates from across the galaxy sat in tiered seats, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. Nathan took his place at a small table near the front, feeling more out of place than ever. He set down his blueprints and adjusted the tiny model of his starship, making sure everything was ready for his presentation. When it was his turn to speak, Nathan stood up, his heart pounding. The room fell silent, all eyes on him. He cleared his throat and began explaining his design. He spoke slowly, choosing his words carefully so the translation systems could keep up. "This ship," he said, pointing to the model, "uses quantum entanglement to create energy. It doesn't need fuel, and it can travel faster and farther than any ship you've seen before." At first, the room was quiet. Then, one by one, the aliens started reacting. A few snickered. Others rolled their eyes, or the equivalent of rolling eyes, depending on their species. Zixer, the insectoid diplomat, leaned forward in his seat and clicked his mandibles loudly. "Quantum entanglement," he scoffed. "That's a theory humans barely understand. You expect us to believe you've solved it." Lyra, the liquid silver ambassador, chimed in next. Her voice was smooth but dismissive. "Even if this works, and I doubt it does, it's far too fragile for practical use. Your species isn't ready for such advanced technology." Other aliens joined in, their comments growing louder and more critical. Some called Nathan's design childish. Others laughed outright, shaking their heads in disbelief. Nathan felt his cheeks burn, but he forced himself to stay calm. He had expected this reaction, but hearing it in person was harder than he'd imagined. Still, he reminded himself why he was here. This wasn't about him. It was about Earth. Taking a deep breath, he held up the small model of his ship. "I know it sounds impossible," he said, his voice steady despite the knot in his stomach. "But humanity has always found ways to achieve what others thought couldn't be done. Give me a chance to prove it." His words didn't seem to make much of an impact. Most of the aliens turned away, uninterested. But a few stayed focused on him, their expressions unreadably neutral. One of them, a tall bird-like creature with feathers that shimmered like oil slicks, tilted its head curiously. "You are confident," it said in a raspy voice. Perhaps overly so. But confidence alone does not make a concept viable. As the session ended, Nathan returned to his quarters, discouraged but not defeated. He knew the aliens weren't going to take him seriously just because he asked nicely. He needed to show them something tangible, something undeniable. Sitting at his workbench, he began assembling another part of his prototype. His hands moved quickly, almost automatically, as his mind raced through possibilities. Later that evening, Maria Lopes stopped by to check on him. She was one of the few humans on the delegation, a skilled astronaut with a knack for problem-solving. "How's it going?" she asked, leaning against the doorframe. Nathan sighed and set down his tools. "They don't believe me," he admitted. "They think I'm wasting my time." Maria frowned but quickly smiled again. "Let them think that," she said firmly. "You're not doing this for them. You're doing it for us. For Earth. Don't let their doubts get to you." Her words lifted Nathan's spirits a little. He nodded and went back to work, determined to push forward no matter what. Outside, the station hummed softly, its alien inhabitants moving about their business. Somewhere in the distance, laughter echoed down the corridors, but Nathan ignored it. He had a job to do, and he wasn't about to let anyone stand in his way, not even the entire Galactic Council. The next day, Nathan woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew the aliens didn't believe in him, but that didn't matter. What mattered was proving them wrong. After a quick breakfast, he returned to the conference hall, ready to face the council again. This time, however, he had a plan. When the session began, Nathan stood up once more, this time holding the small model of his starship in one hand. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to him. "I know many of you doubt my design," he started, his voice calm and steady. "You think it's impossible or impractical, but I'm willing to prove you wrong." He paused for a moment, letting his words sink in. Then he continued, "Give me 2 weeks. Let me build a working version of this ship right here on your station. If I succeed, Earth earns full membership in the Galactic Council. If I fail, humanity will step back and withdraw all claims to interstellar expansion." The room erupted into murmurs. Some aliens looked amused, while others seemed intrigued. Zixar clicked his mandibles loudly, clearly entertained by the idea of watching Nathan fail. Lyra exchanged glances with a few other ambassadors, her expression unreadable. Even Maria, who had been quietly observing from a corner, raised an eyebrow at the boldness of Nathan's proposal. Finally, the head of the council, a towering alien with skin that shimmered like polished stone, spoke. "Very well," he said in a deep, resonant voice. "You have 2 weeks to build your ship, but be warned. If you cannot deliver, the consequences will be severe." Nathan nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had just made a promise he couldn't afford to break. As the session ended, several aliens approached him, their comments ranging from mockery to cautious curiosity. One of them, a reptilian trader named Vorn, sneered openly. "You're going to embarrass yourself, human," he said with a smirk. "But I suppose it'll be entertaining to watch." Ignoring the insults, Nathan headed back to his quarters to begin preparing. He gathered his tools and materials, spreading them out on a makeshift workbench. Maria joined him shortly after, bringing extra supplies she had managed to scavenge from the station's storage areas. "This is going to be tough," she admitted, setting down a box of wires and components. "But I believe in you, Nathan. We can do this." Together, they spent the rest of the day sketching out a detailed plan. Nathan divided the work into manageable steps, starting with assembling the ship's core, the quantum entanglement drive. It was the most complex part of the design, requiring precise calculations and careful construction. Maria took charge of organizing the tools and keeping track of their progress, ensuring nothing was overlooked. As they worked late into the night, the station grew quieter. The hum of machinery faded, replaced by the soft glow of Nathan's workstation lights. Outside, stars twinkled through the observation windows, reminding Nathan of what was at stake. This wasn't just about building a ship. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity could hold its own. Despite the pressure, Nathan felt a spark of hope. For the first time since arriving, he had a clear goal and a chance to prove himself. The aliens could laugh all they wanted, but he knew what he was capable of. With Maria by his side and his determination unwavering, Nathan dove into the task ahead, determined to turn his vision into reality. By the time they finally called it a night, Nathan's hands were covered in grease, and his mind was buzzing with ideas. Exhausted but hopeful, he collapsed onto his bunk, staring up at the ceiling. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but he was ready. No matter what the aliens thought, Nathan Cole wasn't about to give up. Not now, not ever. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity for Nathan and Maria. From sunrise to late into the night, they worked tirelessly in the makeshift lab provided by the council. The room was cramped and poorly lit, but it was enough for them to set up their tools and materials. Nathan focused on assembling the quantum entanglement drive, the heart of the Starship, while Maria handled the smaller components, ensuring everything fit together perfectly. Despite their determination, progress was slow. Supplies were limited, and some of the parts Nathan needed simply weren't available on the station. They had to improvise constantly, using whatever they could scavenge or repurpose. Old drones, discarded wiring, and even spare pieces from alien equipment became part of their growing creation. It was frustrating at times, but Nathan refused to let setbacks stop him. "We'll make it work," he said firmly whenever Maria voiced her concerns. "That's what humans do. We adapt." As word spread about their project, curious aliens began stopping by the lab. Some came out of genuine interest, while others just wanted to see the human fail. Zixar, the insectoid diplomat, visited almost daily, clicking his mandibles in amusement as he watched Nathan struggle with a particularly tricky piece of wiring. "Still think this will fly, human?" he asked one afternoon, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Nathan didn't bother responding. Instead, he kept his focus on the task at hand, tightening bolts and adjusting circuits with steady hands. Maria, however, wasn't as patient. Why don't you try helping instead of standing there mocking us?" She snapped one day, glaring at Sixer. The alien raised his antennae in mock surprise, but said nothing, retreating to the doorway to watch silently. Not all visitors were hostile, though. A few aliens showed cautious curiosity, asking questions about the design and offering suggestions. One of them, a jellyfish-like creature with glowing tendrils, hovered near Nathan's workstation one evening. "Your approach is unconventional," it said in a soft, melodic voice. "But perhaps that is why it intrigues me." Nathan looked up, surprised by the unexpected compliment. "Thank you," he replied with a small smile. "I've always believed that thinking differently is how we solve problems." By the 5th day, tensions were running high. Nathan and Maria were both exhausted, surviving on quick snacks and short naps. The pressure of the deadline weighed heavily on them, and every minor mistake felt like a step backward. To make matters worse, sabotage attempts began to surface. Tools went missing overnight, forcing Maria to spend hours retracing their steps to find replacements. Power fluctuations in the lab disrupted their tests, causing delays and frustration. One evening, as Nathan examined a damaged circuit board, Maria stormed into the lab, holding up a bundle of frayed wires. "This isn't an accident," she said angrily. "Someone's messing with us, Nathan. They don't want us to succeed." Nathan sighed, running a hand through his hair. He had suspected as much but hadn't wanted to believe it. "Figures," he muttered. "They can't stand the idea of a human proving them wrong." Determined not to let the sabotage derail them, Maria devised a plan. She set traps around the lab, simple alarms rigged from spare parts to alert them if anyone tried to sneak in. It wasn't foolproof, but it gave them peace of mind, knowing they'd at least have a warning next time. Despite the challenges, Nathan remained focused. Every night, as the station dimmed its lights and most of the aliens retired to their quarters, he stayed at his workstation, fine-tuning the ship's systems. Maria often joined him, keeping him company and offering encouragement when the stress threatened to overwhelm him. "You're doing great, Nathan," she would say softly. "Just keep going, one step at a time." Slowly but surely, the ship began to take shape. Its sleek frame gleamed under the lab's dim lighting, a stark contrast to the bulky vessels used by the aliens. The quantum entanglement drive sat at its center, humming faintly as Nathan tested its connections. It wasn't perfect yet, but it was close enough to give Nathan hope. As the 7th day dawned, Nathan allowed himself a brief moment of pride. They had come so far in such a short time, but he knew the hardest part was still ahead. With only a week left, they had to finish the build, run tests, and prepare for the final demonstration. The aliens could laugh and doubt all they wanted, but Nathan was determined to show them what humanity. On the 7th day, disaster struck. Nathan and Maria had been running a critical test on the quantum entanglement drive when something went horribly wrong. A loud crackling sound filled the lab, followed by a flash of light so bright it forced them to shield their eyes. When the glow faded, they saw smoke rising from the core of the ship. The drive had short-circuited, damaging several key components beyond repair. Nathan stared at the wreckage in disbelief. His shoulders slumped, and for the first time since arriving at the station, he felt the weight of failure pressing down on him. "This can't be happening," he muttered under his breath, his voice heavy with frustration. Maria stood beside him, her face pale but resolute. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "We'll fix it," she said firmly. "We don't have a choice." But Nathan wasn't so sure. The clock was ticking, and they were already behind schedule. Rebuilding the damaged parts would take days, time they didn't have. He sank onto a stool, staring blankly at the floor. For a moment, all the doubts he'd been pushing aside came rushing back. What if the aliens were right? What if his design really was impossible? Maria wouldn't let him give up. "Hey," she said sharply, snapping her fingers in front of his face to get his attention. "Stop that. You're not quitting now, Nathan. We've come too far for this to end like this." Her words cut through his despair, jolting him back to reality. She was right. Giving up wasn't an option, not when so much depended on their success. Together, they began assessing the damage. It was worse than they'd initially thought. Several circuits were fried, and one of the stabilizers had melted completely. But as they sifted through the wreckage, Nathan noticed something interesting. The core itself, the heart of the quantum entanglement drive, was still intact. It had taken the brunt of the surge, protecting the rest of the system. An idea sparked in Nathan's mind. If they could reroute the energy flow and bypass the damaged sections, they might be able to salvage the drive without rebuilding everything from scratch. It was risky, but it was their only chance. "Let's try this," he said, grabbing a marker and sketching out a new plan on the nearest surface. Maria studied the diagram carefully before nodding. "It's crazy enough to work," she said with a small smile. They worked non-stop for the next 2 days, scavenging parts from old drones and even dismantling some of their own equipment to make it happen. Their hands moved quickly, fueled by adrenaline and sheer determination. At one point, Sixer stopped by, clearly expecting to see them defeated. Instead, he found Nathan and Maria hard at work, their faces streaked with grease and sweat. For once, he didn't say anything mocking. He simply watched for a moment before leaving without a word. Finally, on the 9th day, the drive came online for the first time. Nathan held his breath as he activated the system, praying it wouldn't explode again. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, a faint blue glow spread through the ship's frame. The hum of the drive grew steadier, filling the lab with a soft, reassuring vibration. Maria let out a whoop of excitement, startling Nathan into laughter. They had done it. The impossible had become possible. Word of their progress spread quickly. Aliens who had once mocked Nathan now peeked into the lab, their expressions ranging from curiosity to grudging respect. Even Lyra, the Silver Ambassador, stopped by to observe the glowing drive. "Impressive," she admitted reluctantly. "Perhaps we underestimated you, human." Nathan didn't respond. He was too busy running final diagnostics, ensuring every part of the ship was functioning properly. The prototype, christened Eclipse, was finally ready. Its sleek design and glowing core made it look like something out of a dream, a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. As Nathan powered down the drive for the night, he allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. They weren't finished yet. The demonstration was still ahead, but they had crossed a major hurdle. Maria leaned against the workstation, her arms crossed. "You know what this means, right?" she asked with a grin. "We're going to blow their minds." Nathan smiled, feeling a spark of hope ignite within him. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, he let himself believe. Against all odds, humanity had built something extraordinary. And soon, the entire galaxy would see it. As the final days of the 2-week deadline approached, the atmosphere on the station grew tense. Word of Nathan's progress had spread like wildfire among the alien delegates, and opinions were divided. Some remained skeptical, convinced that the humans' so-called breakthrough was nothing more than a fluke. Others, however, began to take notice, especially after seeing glimpses of the glowing eclipse in the lab. The sleek Starship, with its faint blue aura and futuristic design, looked unlike anything they had ever seen. But not everyone was pleased. Vorn, the reptilian traitor who had mocked Nathan from the start, became increasingly agitated. He paced the corridors outside the lab, muttering under his breath about primitive humans and their reckless experiments. One evening, he confronted Nathan directly as the engineer was leaving the lab. "You think you're clever, don't you?" Vorn hissed, his forked tongue flicking in irritation. "Building a toy ship to impress us. It won't last 5 seconds in real space." Nathan didn't rise to the bait. Instead, he simply smiled and replied, "We'll see." His calm response only seemed to infuriate Vorn further, but before the alien could say more, Maria stepped between them. "Back off," she said sharply, her tone leaving no room for argument. Vorn glared at her for a moment before slinking away, his tail lashing behind him. Sabotage attempts continued, though Maria's traps had made it harder for anyone to interfere unnoticed. One night, an alarm went off just as someone tried to tamper with the ship's power supply. When Nathan and Maria rushed to investigate, they found tools scattered nearby, but no one in sight. It was clear that some aliens were desperate to stop them. But why? Was it jealousy, fear, or something else entirely? Despite these challenges, Nathan and Maria pressed on. They spent long hours fine-tuning every detail of the eclipse, ensuring it was ready for the demonstration. Nathan worked tirelessly on the navigation systems, programming complex algorithms to handle high-speed maneuvers. Maria focused on the ship's structural integrity, reinforcing weak points and testing the hull against simulated stresses. Together, they created something truly remarkable, a vessel designed not just to fly, but to outperform anything the aliens had ever built. The day before the presentation, Nathan decided to conduct one final test run. With Maria monitoring from the lab, he climbed into the cockpit of the Eclipse. The interior was compact but efficient, with controls laid out in a way that felt intuitive to him. As he powered up the quantum entanglement drive, the familiar hum filled the air, vibrating through the ship's frame. For a moment, Nathan closed his eyes, letting the sound steady his nerves. "Ready?" Maria's voice crackled over the comm system. "Ready," Nathan replied, gripping the controls. With a deep breath, he activated the thrusters. The Eclipse lifted off smoothly, hovering silently above the docking bay floor. Nathan guided it through a series of maneuvers, pushing the limits of its capabilities. The ship responded flawlessly, turning sharp corners and accelerating faster than any alien vessel could match. Even Maria, watching from the lab, couldn't help but gasp in awe. "This thing is incredible," she whispered. When Nathan returned the Eclipse to the docking bay, he felt a surge of confidence. They were ready. The next day, they would show the Galactic Council what humanity was capable of. But as Nathan climbed out of the cockpit, he noticed something unusual. A small group of aliens standing nearby, watching silently. Among them was Lyra, the Silver Ambassador, her expression unreadable. Beside her stood the bird-like creature with shimmering feathers, its head tilted curiously. For the first time, Nathan sensed a shift in the air. The mockery and doubt that had followed him since his arrival were beginning to fade, replaced by something else. Curiosity, perhaps, or even respect. As he locked up the Eclipse for the night, Nathan allowed himself a small smile. Tomorrow, the galaxy would witness the impossible. And this time, there would be no room for skepticism. Back in the lab, Maria handed him a cup of coffee. "Big day tomorrow," she said simply. Nathan nodded, his mind already racing ahead. He knew the stakes and the risks, but he also knew one thing for certain. Failure was not an option. The day of the demonstration arrived, and the entire station buzzed with anticipation. Delegates from across the galaxy gathered in the massive observation hall, their eyes fixed on the docking bay where the Eclipse stood ready. Its sleek frame gleamed under the bright lights, the faint blue glow of its quantum entanglement drive casting an otherworldly aura. Nathan took a deep breath as he prepared to step into the cockpit, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nerves. Maria stayed behind in the lab, manning the monitoring station. She gave Nathan a thumbs up as he passed by, her face tense but encouraging. "You've got this," she said firmly. "Just focus on what you've practiced." Nathan nodded, grateful for her support. He knew she would keep a close eye on the ship's systems, ready to alert him if anything went wrong. As Nathan climbed into the cockpit, the room fell silent. The Galactic Council members watched intently, their expressions ranging from skepticism to cautious curiosity. Zixer leaned forward in his seat, clicking his mandibles impatiently, while Vorn crossed his arms, his reptilian eyes narrowed in suspicion. Even Lyra, who had been dismissive before, seemed intrigued, her liquid silver form shimmering faintly as she observed. Nathan powered up the Eclipse, the familiar hum filling the air. He ran through the pre-flight checks quickly, ensuring every system was functioning perfectly. Then, with a final glance at Maria, who gave him another reassuring nod, he activated the thrusters. The ship lifted off smoothly, hovering silently above the docking bay floor before gliding out into open space. The demonstration began with a series of basic maneuvers: acceleration, deceleration, and turning. The Eclipse moved effortlessly, responding to Nathan's commands with precision. Gasps rippled through the observation hall as the ship accelerated faster than any alien vessel could match. Unlike traditional ships that relied on fuel and exhaust, the Eclipse left no trail behind it, moving silently and cleanly through the void. But Nathan wasn't done yet. He pushed the ship to its limits, performing complex maneuvers that showcased its agility. Sharp turns, sudden stops, and rapid changes in direction, all executed flawlessly. The crowd murmured in disbelief as holographic screens displayed real-time data, showing the ship's speed and energy efficiency far surpassing anything they had seen before. At one point, Nathan decided to demonstrate the quantum entanglement drive's most impressive feature: instantaneous recovery after a power surge. He triggered a simulated overload, causing the drive to shut down briefly. For a split second, the ship's glow dimmed, and tension filled the room. But within moments, the drive rebooted itself, restoring full power without missing a beat. The aliens erupted into murmurs of astonishment, some leaning forward in their seats to get a better look. Even Vorn, who had mocked Nathan relentlessly, looked stunned. His jaw hung slightly open as he watched the Eclipse perform maneuvers that defied conventional physics. Lyra exchanged glances with the bird-like ambassador, her expression softening. "Incredible," she whispered, almost to herself. When Nathan finally returned the Eclipse to the docking bay, the room erupted into applause. It wasn't just the humans clapping. Several alien delegates joined in, their earlier skepticism replaced by grudging admiration. Zixar clicked his mandibles loudly, though whether in frustration or approval was unclear. Vorn simply stared, his usual smug demeanor gone. As Nathan stepped out of the cockpit, he felt a wave of relief wash over him. He had done it. Against all odds, he had proven humanity's potential. Maria rushed over, her face beaming with pride. "You did it," she exclaimed, throwing her arms around him in a quick hug. Nathan smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment he hadn't experienced before. The head of the council, the towering alien with shimmering stone-like skin, rose from his seat. His deep voice echoed through the hall. "This demonstration has exceeded expectations," he announced. "Humanity has shown innovation and determination. We will deliberate further, but your achievement today cannot be ignored." For the first time since arriving, Nathan felt a sense of belonging. The aliens' laughter and mockery were gone, replaced by respect, and perhaps even awe. Humanity had taken its first step toward claiming a place among the stars, and Nathan Cole had led the way. The applause in the observation hall lingered long after Nathan stepped out of the Eclipse. For the first time, he felt like more than just a representative of Earth. He felt like a pioneer. The aliens who had once laughed at him now approached cautiously, their expressions a mix of curiosity and respect. Even Zixar, the insectoid diplomat, extended a clawed hand toward Nathan, clicking his mandibles softly. "Your design is unexpected," he admitted, though his tone was still tinged with reluctance. "Perhaps humans are not as limited as we assumed." Lyra, the silver ambassador, floated closer, her liquid form shimmering faintly. "You have earned our attention," she said, her voice smooth but sincere. "This technology could change how we approach space travel." Her words carried weight, and Nathan noticed several other delegates nodding in agreement. It was a small victory, but one that filled him with pride. Vorn, however, remained silent. The reptilian trader stood off to the side, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. His tail twitched irritably as he watched the growing admiration for Nathan. Finally, unable to contain his frustration, he strode forward. "This proves nothing," he snapped, his voice sharp and defiant. One successful test does not mean your ship can handle real challenges. Nathan turned to face him, his expression calm but firm. Then let's find out, he replied. If you're so confident my ship will fail, why don't you come along for the ride? The room fell silent at his bold suggestion. Vorn hesitated, clearly caught off guard. He hadn't expected Nathan to call this bluff. After a tense moment, he muttered something under his breath and stormed away, his tail lashing behind him. The head of the council raised a hand to quiet the murmurs spreading through the hall. Enough, he said in his deep, resonant voice. Today's demonstration has proven humanity's ingenuity. We will convene shortly to discuss Earth's membership in the Galactic Council. Until then, you have our gratitude, Nathan Cole. As the delegates filed out of the room, Nathan felt a sense of relief wash over him. He had done what many thought was impossible. But the journey wasn't over yet. Maria joined him near the eclipse, her grin wide and uncontainable. You did it, she said again, her voice filled with pride. They can't ignore us anymore. Later that evening, Nathan returned to his quarters, exhausted but exhilarated. The station felt different now, less hostile, more open. Aliens who had once avoided him now greeted him with nods or polite gestures. Some even stopped to ask questions about the quantum entanglement drive, their interest genuine. Nathan answered patiently, knowing this was an opportunity to build bridges between humanity and the galaxy. Maria stayed by his side throughout the evening, helping him field questions and keeping track of the growing number of requests for meetings. Looks like you're going to be busy, she teased, handing him a cup of coffee. But hey, isn't this what you wanted? To show them what we're capable of. Nathan nodded, sipping the warm drink. Yeah, but I didn't expect it to feel like this, he admitted. It's not just about proving ourselves anymore. It's about working together, learning from each other. The next morning brought another surprise. Vorn appeared at Nathan's door, his usual smug demeanor replaced by something resembling humility. I underestimated you, human, he said gruffly, avoiding eye contact. I owe you an apology, and perhaps a trade deal. Your technology could be valuable to both our species. Nathan blinked in surprise but quickly recovered. Apology accepted, he said, extending a hand. And I'm open to discussing partnerships, as long as they benefit everyone involved. Vorn hesitated before shaking Nathan's hand, his grip firm but cautious. It was a start, a fragile bridge between two very different worlds. By the end of the day, Nathan realized something important. The aliens weren't just impressed by the eclipse. They were intrigued by humanity's potential. Earth wasn't just a newcomer to the galaxy. It was a force to be reckoned with. And Nathan Cole had shown them exactly what that meant. In the days following the demonstration, Nathan and Maria found themselves at the center of attention. Requests for meetings poured in from alien delegates eager to learn more about the eclipse and its groundbreaking technology. Some wanted to discuss potential partnerships, while others sought advice on how to adapt quantum entanglement for their own ships. It was overwhelming, but also deeply rewarding. For the first time, humanity wasn't being dismissed, it was being taken seriously. The Galactic Council convened several times to deliberate Earth's membership. Nathan attended these sessions alongside Maria and other human representatives. The atmosphere had shifted dramatically since his arrival. No longer were humans treated as outsiders or inferiors. Instead, they were seen as equals, innovators with ideas worth exploring. Even Zixar, who had once mocked Nathan openly, now listened intently during discussions, occasionally nodding in agreement. One evening, after a particularly long session, Nathan and Maria sat together in the station's observation lounge, staring out at the vast expanse of stars. It's strange, Nathan said quietly, breaking the silence. When we got here, I thought all we'd have to do was prove ourselves. But now, it feels like there's so much more ahead. Maria smiled, leaning back in her chair. That's because there is, she replied. This isn't just about joining the council anymore. It's about building relationships, sharing knowledge, and figuring out where we fit in this big, crazy galaxy. Nathan nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on the shimmering stars outside the window. He knew Maria was right. The success of the eclipse had opened doors that no one could have predicted. But with those opportunities came responsibilities. Humanity couldn't just take, it had to give back too. The final decision came sooner than expected. The head of the council called an emergency meeting, inviting all delegates to hear the verdict. When Nathan and Maria entered the chamber, they noticed a shift in the energy. The room buzzed with anticipation, and even Vorn looked unusually subdued. As everyone took their seats, the council leader rose to speak. After careful consideration, he began, his deep voice echoing through the hall. We have reached a unanimous decision. Earth has demonstrated not only technological innovation, but also determination and resilience. These qualities are essential for any member of the Galactic Council. Therefore, we welcome humanity as a full member, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. The room erupted into applause, louder and more enthusiastic than before. Nathan felt a lump rise in his throat as he stood up, unsure of what to say. Maria nudged him gently, whispering, "Go on. They're waiting for you." Clearing his throat, Nathan stepped forward. "Thank you," he said simply, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside him. "This isn't just my victory. It belongs to everyone who believed in humanity's potential. We're ready to work together, to learn from each other, and to build a future where every species can thrive." His words earned another round of applause, this time accompanied by cheers from the human delegation. Even Zixar clicked his mandibles approvingly, while Lyra floated closer to offer a gesture of congratulations, a ripple across her silver surface that Nathan interpreted as a smile. Later that night, Nathan reflected on everything that had happened. Back in his quarters, he stared at the blueprints for the eclipse, now slightly worn from constant use. They represented more than just a ship. They symbolized hope, perseverance, and the boundless possibilities of the human spirit. Maria stopped by to check on him before turning in. "You know," she said with a grin, "you're kind of a hero now. How does it feel?" Nathan chuckled softly. "I don't think of myself as a hero," he admitted. "I'm just a guy who loves solving problems. But if this helps people see what we're capable of, then I guess it was worth every late night and busted circuit." Maria patted him on the shoulder. "Well, get used to the attention. You've earned it." As she left, Nathan allowed himself a moment of quiet pride. Humanity's journey among the stars was just beginning, and he had helped light the way. Months after the historic demonstration, Nathan Cole returned to Earth a changed man. The journey home was bittersweet. While he was eager to reunite with his family and friends, part of him missed the energy and challenges of the alien station. Still, as the shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, he felt a deep sense of pride, knowing that humanity now had a seat at the interstellar table. News of Nathan's success spread quickly across the planet. Governments, scientists, and ordinary citizens celebrated the achievement as a turning point for humanity. Schools began teaching his story, highlighting how one man's determination had opened doors no one thought possible. Journalists dubbed him the engineer who reached the stars, though Nathan himself cringed at the title. He didn't see himself as extraordinary, just someone who refused to give up when the odds were stacked against him. Back in Detroit, Nathan visited the garage where it all began. Tools still lay scattered across his old workbench, remnants of countless late-night experiments. Standing there, he couldn't help but smile at how far he'd come. What started as a simple idea, a dream scribbled on scraps of paper, had grown into something that changed the course of human history. Maria Lopes stayed in touch, often calling to share updates about Earth's growing role in the Galactic Council. Together, they worked on proposals to responsibly share the quantum entanglement drive technology with other species. Nathan insisted that such knowledge should benefit everyone, not just the wealthiest or most powerful civilizations. It wasn't always easy. Some aliens viewed humanity's generosity with suspicion, but over time, Trust began to build. The eclipse became a symbol of hope and innovation, inspiring engineers across the galaxy. Requests poured in from alien delegations hoping to collaborate with Earth on new projects. Humanity, once seen as primitive, was now regarded as a source of fresh ideas and bold solutions. Even Vorn, the reptilian trader who had mocked Nathan early on, became an unlikely ally, brokering trade deals that brought advanced materials and resources to Earth in exchange for insights into quantum mechanics. As months turned into years, Nathan continued to push boundaries. He worked closely with international teams to develop new spacecraft designs, each iteration building on the lessons learned from the eclipse. Maria remained by his side, her knack for problem-solving proving invaluable in navigating both technical challenges and diplomatic negotiations. But Nathan never forgot why he started this journey: to make a difference. He spent much of his free time mentoring young engineers, encouraging them to think creatively and aim high. "Don't let anyone tell you your ideas are too crazy," he often said during lectures. Sometimes, the craziest ideas are the ones that change the world. One evening, as Nathan stood under a clear night sky, he marveled at how different the stars looked now. They weren't distant, unreachable points of light anymore. They were destinations waiting to be explored. Humanity's place among them was no longer a dream. It was reality. Maria joined him outside, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thinking about the next big project?" she asked with a grin. Nathan chuckled softly. "Always," he replied. "There's so much we haven't discovered yet. So many challenges to tackle, planets to visit, and mysteries to solve." Together, they gazed upward, imagining the possibilities ahead. The journey was far from over, for Nathan, for Maria, and for all of humanity. With perseverance, creativity, and a little bit of courage, they had proven that even the smallest voices could echo across the galaxy. And somewhere out there, among the stars, the eclipse remained a beacon of what was possible when people dared to dream big. How can I help you today? Thinking. Search NCP